The focus of our webcast today is how to be successful at social marketing with ClickDimensions. We're very excited to have Yancy, the pre-sales consultant at ClickDimensions, presenting for us today. So Yancy will do a 15-minute intro to social marketing and will then give us a demo of the solution. On that note, I will now pass it along to Yancy, and I hope you enjoy the webcast.
Perfect. Thank you, Shanella. And so as stated, my name is Yancy Joyner, and I'm a solution consultant with ClickDimensions, and I will take you guys through a journey around our social marketing automation platform. And I want to try to stay within the product maybe as much as possible. And so I'll do a broad introduction of the pillars that support our social marketing platform, but then transition my way quickly over into the product itself and use the product to paint the backdrop and the overall solution that I think that we can help customers and really talk about the goals that we help customers achieve as well. But when you think about our capabilities around social marketing, they do fall within these 5 broad categories, and you'll see me touch on these categories as we go through. A couple of these probably won't be a surprise to you. I think they're standards within the industry when you think about social marketing, especially when you begin to think about social publishing, so efficiently scheduling and managing content across all of your profiles and all of your networks, working from one centralized calendar view of all of that content so that you're not moving from different people's social platforms and their profiles and trying to glue all of that together into a consolidated view. Our social publishing is going to allow you to pull all of that together seamlessly and make intelligent decisions around what you post, when you post, and the type of content that you are receiving the most reaction from. We also carry capacity around social demand generation, so converting those social interactions into leads with attribution to a sales pipeline and revenue. That's going to be important for us, and we're going to touch on that as we go through. The third pillar is social listening, and I like to, when I'm talking to customers and they're really refining the type of content that they are publishing, as the volume of that content increases, they become more conscious of being able to listen in on the reaction that they're receiving from their target audiences. And I have a couple of anecdotal examples to share there around why social listening is so important and the value that it provides. You will definitely hear me talk about social advocacy and the power around advocacy and the way advocacy posts are received and the enhanced interaction that most organizations see out of advocacy posting. And I'll give you our solution profile there and how it fits into this overall solution. And then finally, social customer care. So thinking about managing all of the updates and interaction from all of those individuals that have seen posts from you and having one consolidated place where you can see that, make assignments, react to really good news or maybe react to less than positive news, but one centralized place to see all of that interaction across all of your profiles, all of your social platforms, so that you don't have anything slip between the cracks on interaction that you've had. Now, all of this activity is really driven upon the fact that most people that I deal with are looking to refine the quantity and the quality of the posts that they're driving. And as those numbers increase, then these other 4 pillars definitely come into play more and more as we talk about our solution. All of this is encapsulated in a dashboard reporting model. And that's actually where I'm going to start first, because when I meet customers along a social marketing journey, many times it helps to define for our own practice within ClickDimensions. What are the fundamental KPIs that we use to determine if our social campaigns are successful, if our engagement levels are where they need to be, if we're meeting the internal KPIs and benchmarks that we've established for ourselves. And if I can show you our analytics and reporting model, most of the time we get broad agreement that that's the general direction that we would like to move as far as a target audience and a customer goes. I can then begin to share you how we pull the levers along these disciplines in order to get you there. So that's kind of the layout of what we'll talk about, and these are the individual silos that we will visit as we go through and make our way into our social marketing solution. So with that being said, let me bring in, and I'm gonna land on our analytics page for a moment. And keep in mind, this is an overall analytics reporting view of how well an organization is performing related to KPIs for social marketing. I will put the caveat in place that this is our live ClickDimensions view. We use this product and this solution internally. So I wanted to give you a feel for how a live in production customer is using this product and some of the KPIs that are important to them. So when I land on my analytics dashboard, I have several tabs that are going to be important to me. I have an acquisition tab, I have an engagements tab, an audience, a content, advocacy. I'm going to start on acquisition. And the reason that I think it's important is because it gives you a really good understanding of a couple of things that are going to be common themes throughout all of these dashboards. So first, my dashboards can be manipulated from a timescale perspective here. So I can choose start date, finish date for this particular view. If I wanted to zero in on a particular time frame and even zero in on a particular network, if I was only interested in looking at Facebook or maybe YouTube posts during this period, I could filter my way and do that. Maybe I just wanted to look at a specific campaign related to Q1 blogs that we might have been running. Whatever filter I select there, my reporting view is going to be painted based on those designations. So it's really easy to slice and pull my way through the data that's relevant to me. In this example, I'm looking at a pretty broad range of dates. I'm going to leave all of my filters open, but you can see for this time period, we had 2,464 posts, which led to 166,000 impressions. You can see the number of clicks. What I'm really interested here, and this is the point I try to drive to a lot of my customers, is the number of conversions that we're tracking. So a conversion, in our view, can have a couple of different meanings to it. Now, maybe a conversion is just a visit to the website that we were promoting within the social post. You can see the 3 website conversions that I've had here. But we also can configure conversions to be maybe the population of a web form, the interaction with a survey, but we can make that conversion either a destination, which the website would be a destination, or an event. A web form would be an event. But it's up to the customer, and we can help you define by campaign how you want to establish what a conversion means in your environment. And this is really important because we're going to help you post more, and we're going to help you gain more impressions, and there are going to be more clicks based on that. But we ultimately want to be able to define what is our goal around conversions, and are we meeting those goals? And our charts are pretty consistent in that what I select on the left-hand side is going to drive what I see on the right. So it's really easy for me to drive my way through these charts and take a look. Along the bottom, you can see the 3 websites that were a part of this conversion. I can see what geography they came from and the date. And then I also can see how many of those conversions came from which network and whether that was an organic, a curated or an advocacy conversion. And we're going to define each one of these channels in case anyone's not clear on what an organic or a curated or an advocacy type channel might be. I think this is where most of my customers agree that they would like to begin a journey. They want to understand what's our volume of posting, but most of all, what are the conversions that we've defined for this particular campaign, and how are we meeting our goals based on that? And as you might imagine, we could have different conversion goals for different campaigns. So that's really important to think about as well. Those campaigns are also tied back to campaigns that are living within CRM. So that's really important too. Now, from a reporting standpoint, there is a very natural relationship between your acquisition metrics and our engagement tab. So the engagement tab is going to be centered around helping you understand key metrics around engagement that are going to play into this dashboard and ultimately play into how you're achieving your acquisition metrics. But I'm going to be thinking about link, clicks, likes, comments, detail expands, post clicks, shares. You can see an exhaustive list of engagement type metrics here. Where a lot of people begin this journey is they are interested in understanding engagement first by network. Now, I mentioned that this was a live ClickDimensions environment, and you can see for us, for this particular campaign, a great degree of engagement has been driven through LinkedIn, then followed by Twitter, followed by Facebook. This allows me to have different benchmarks for different networks to understand where my emphasis might be on a given campaign. I also can understand engagement by channel. So how many of my engagements have been driven by advocacy? And when I think about advocacy, I'm thinking about posts by internal team members to networks like LinkedIn, where they have their own social following. But so at ClickDimensions, we have a goal of 50% of our engagement being driven by our own internal advocacy. So you can see we're right on target there. You can see the number of organic, so that's me going in, creating a post, maybe using some templated type information, but it's an organic post, it's not paid. So you can see how I'm performing through that particular metric. And then finally, curated content, and we'll talk about curated content as we go as well. Most people that I engage with, it's difficult for them to roll up metrics like this from the very beginning because they've got multiple people on different platforms with different profiles that aren't centralized, and it's difficult to boil that information up. Now, I also can look at my engagement and understand when my target audiences are most likely to engage with my posts. Where I see large green bubbles, that lets me know I have very high engagement. So 77 posts went out. You can see the number of clicks, the number of likes, the number of shares, the number of comments. That would be in contrast to a red indicator where that level of engagement is much lower. Now, this is important because it allows you to determine and see for your posts, when are your target audiences most likely to engage with your posts. That will help you with your planning. So when you think about scheduling and utilizing your calendar and putting your posts together related to campaigns, these views are going to help you there. I also can see my top engaging posts, my top engaging campaigns, and the number of engagements per each campaign. Along the top, you can see total number of posts for this period, the number of impressions, engagements, and ultimately that engagement rate. Now, for each metric, you'll notice the little I indicator there. In case you have a question around what this KPI is all about, I can hover there for a moment, and it's going to define exactly what an engagement rate means and why it's going to be important to your environment. Now, as I mentioned, These dashboards are dynamic in that maybe if I only wanted to look at LinkedIn and Facebook, I could do that. I can select update, and then my view is going to be repainted based on those designations. So in addition to my acquisition and my engagement platform, I do want to just spend a brief moment on content, because I believe, and most of my customers agree, that there's a relationship between the number of conversions we have, the types of engagement that we're generating with our target audiences, and the particular type of content that we chose for this particular period. So I'm going to land on my content tab, same format that I could segment the calendar. I can define the filters. Now I can look at the types of posts that I had by type. So how many status updates, how many images I post, how many links, how many videos. Once again, what I select on the left is going to drive what's painted there on the right. I can see my top engaging links, my top converting links. If I scroll down, you're going to be able to see on the right-hand side the top engaging hashtags, and you're going to be able to see also some of the keywords that are most critical for related to content. And I'll allow that to post. Okay, here we can just kind of post it through. So this content analysis view allows me to understand that where I have a larger font and a deeper green, those keywords and hashtags are driving greater responsiveness from my target audience. Where the font is very light and very small, I'm not getting as much of a push for those posts. So in my view, if I'm thinking about running social marketing meetings, I want to be able to sit down and say to my internal team members, let's make sure that we understand what content is resonating from a keyword perspective with our target audiences, and this is a great way to do that. So I hope this helps you to understand from an overall positioning standpoint the types of metrics that we can collect and why we collect those metrics. And I really believe all of this goes back to our strategy around how we define our conversions and how we're going to track those conversions. So we want to begin to get smarter around the types of content that we're creating. We want to drive more impressions. We want to drive more clicks, because ultimately we know that's going to have an impact on the conversions that we see. Now, there are a few more dashboards here, but those are the three that I wanted to point out and just begin our conversation, because everything that we do in the product from here supports the reporting environment that you're seeing here, and it helps you make the decisions. Are we achieving the number of conversions? What sort of engagement level do we have with our target audiences, and what sort of content is resonating? So I know that was a lot in a short amount of time, but hopefully that gave you a feel for our strategy around reporting. And I hope you enjoyed looking at a live production environment as opposed to a demo environment related to reporting, because as I said, these are key dashboards that we use to run our business as well. Now I'm going to transition over into our ClickDimensions sales demo, and I'm going to toggle back over to publishing. And if we go back to the very beginning here, so when we think about social publishing, we are in that exercise of efficiently scheduling and managing content across multiple profiles and multiple networks. So where you see the little airplane toggle here on the left-hand side, this is all of my capability around publishing. So I have an overall calendar for all of my activity. This is a pretty crowded calendar. I can filter that calendar. So maybe I just wanted to look at, for the moment, I just want to focus in on LinkedIn activity. And so you can see I can dynamically work my way through. Maybe I wanted to include Facebook in there, but I can dynamically work my way through my calendar, and that's really important. I'll take these filters off, but I did want you to understand how If you feel like your calendar is beginning to fill up, we do have some ways to help you drill in on areas that are of particular importance to you. Now, I'm going to show you 4 ways to post content. And the first way is we can select our new post. And this is a great way to understand that for each social platform that we have, we can choose the profile that we want to engage with for this particular platform. I can choose multiple profiles within there. So if I want to go in and make those designations, I can go in and select the profiles. I also can do that across the various social platforms. So we would support Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If I went here, I could, as you can imagine, just enter some basic text. And once I do that, I can select the campaign that this is associated to. Once again, there's a tie back to Dynamics in that regard. If I wanted to add imaging for this particular post, I could go into my media library. You can see some examples that I've had from other demos that I've used, but very easy to go in, grab an image there to insert. I also could insert videos here and have all of the editing capabilities that I would have in my native social environment. So that's important, because if you want to think about inserting thumbnail views or uploading caption files, we can certainly support that as well. But I could copy this to my advocacy board. I could associate tags to this post. This is important because if I wanted to go in and maybe just look at all of my posts related to Q4 activity, these are user-defined tags that I can go in and associate. They're going to help from a reporting standpoint. I can have this scheduled to go out today, or I could add another date here. I could set multiple date ranges for this particular post to go out. When I'm done, I can select set there. I could even pull a PDF into this post. I could select a previous message to insert, and I also can use the native functionality of LinkedIn to target this particular post to all of the filters that would be available from a LinkedIn perspective. So here you can see we could filter by company size, or by industry, or by function. All of those posts and filtering capabilities are available there for me. When I'm happy with what I've got, I can go ahead and select schedule, and this post is going to go out on its way. So that's the first way that I can post. The second way that I can post is going to fall in under the capabilities of my campaigns. Now, we talked about our campaigns in social can be mapped to our campaigns in CRM. That's great because all of the activity that we have around social becomes a part of an omni-marketing experience where social and email and web and all of my facets of marketing automation are coming together. Now, I just labeled a particular campaign here for social launch. So at the campaign level, I have my own calendar that's devoted to posts just associated to this campaign. I also have my messages, so this will include all of the approved and draft posts that I have in place for this particular campaign. Within my messaging capability, this is my second way that I can create a post. I can select my message generator. This will allow me to insert any website or any blog that I've seen and I feel like has relevance for this campaign. I can take the URL, put it in my message generator, select next. I'm going to have a pop-up window that's going to show me the keywords and hashtags associated with this particular URL. If I want to add or take some of those out to change out that keyword or hashtag mix, I can do that. But this is going to create messaging and posts for me based on the URL that I've inserted within my message generator. So this is taking a tad longer than what I thought, but let me give it a moment to see if it can cycle through, because I do want you to see this, because this is one of those key ways of, let me go back here. Let me try this one more time. And there's sometimes nothing quite like a live performance to ground this, but just in case I do get an error here, the key value proposition is we can allow you to take content from the web and quickly create posts based on that. And I mean multiple posts, so that I could go in and I could scale the number of posts that I create based on the particular social platform that I have. So I'm going to close this down for the moment, and I'll come back and maybe try to figure out where we had a hiccup here. But I also can go through and utilize my auto poster capability. This is going to allow me to post at scale across multiple profiles and multiple social media platforms. So for example, for Facebook, you can see the 2 profiles that I have selected. For LinkedIn, you can see those. If I wanted to add or subtract those, I could. But if I select next, I now can go in and add the particular posts that I'm interested in sending out. And once I've grabbed the posts that are relevant, I can select next. I can now work with my schedule to define a start date and finish date. And when if I'm good from that perspective, I'm going to push this out by a week, and I'm going to take Saturday and Sunday out of the equation, and I'm going to go ahead and generate my schedule. And let me go and find one here. So let's grab here. And I think I went through this quickly enough that I didn't grab the profile. So let me do that once more. I'm going to select the messaging that I want. I'll select next, and we'll push this out by a week. We'll take Saturday and Sunday out of the equation, and we'll generate our schedule. And that's going to place those posts now on my calendar. Where you see the little timing indicator, that lets me know that I can move these events around. Once this calendar has been established, I could send this for approval. So many of my customers work in a regulatory environment where maybe someone from sales or finance or legal might need to review a post before it goes out. If that wasn't the case, I could go ahead and accept all of these entries within my particular calendar, and they're going to be good to go and to be posted. Now, the third way within a campaign that I can post content is going to be under my curated section. Now, I have a content button here, and these are all of the different types of content that I've chosen to potentially create posts from. And so the topics here, I have a dynamics topic, I have a topic around marketing analytics. I was doing a demo for an engineering and construction company. And so based on the type of content that you might want to create, I can create different categories. Value proposition here is I can go in, review this particular content, and if I wanted to share this, I can select my share button and then choose the social platform and the profile. I could even flip this over into full screen to see what this looks like, desktop versus mobile, make any modifications, add any additional imaging, manipulate my calendar, utilize the filters within the native profiles themselves, and go ahead and select post. So a great way to establish streams of content that are relevant to the campaigns and the social posts that you have, and allow these to aggregate over time. You can review them and then post them when you feel like it's most relevant for a particular campaign that you're in. Now, the fourth way that I can post is through my advocacy activity. And I'm going to quickly show you the behind the scenes aspects of how advocacy works. So in an advocacy environment, you have all of the messaging that's been pre-approved for you as an advocate. You can see the topics that have been defined that you can post through. You can see the advocates themselves that make up this particular advocacy board. Now, this is the behind the scenes view. We also use this in a live production environment today. I use this to post my own advocacy content out to my profile on LinkedIn. So usually on Fridays or Mondays, I'll go through and I will review what's been added to my advocacy board. Now, this is meant to be low overhead, little to no training. I see content that might be relevant to people that follow me. I can go in and decide to share this particular item. You can see the post that's created, and I can even go through and decide to automatically schedule this. So that means, if you remember the red bubbles, the green bubbles, this is looking at when my posts are generated, when do my target audiences, when are they most likely to engage with that post? And that's when this post is going to be sent out. So I select later. So on Mondays or Fridays, I will go through, review what content, go through, select share later, go through, automatically schedule, and I'm done. So those are the four ways that I can work with our publishing capabilities to increase the amount of content that we have out there. So if you go back and think of that top of the funnel vision, we're definitely adding velocity to the number of posts that you're creating. And we feel like that's going to help you meet your goals for the number of conversions that you're looking to track for campaigns or initiatives over time. Perfect. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to log back into our toggle back over to our social platform. And I like to point out that we spent some time in publishing talking about how do we increase the velocity of the posts that we have. Where that leads us typically is a better understanding from a social listening perspective. So our streams capability is going to allow you to listen in and see the responses by the target audiences that you've posted to. Now, I was on a call this morning with a client, and they asked, if we adopt your solution, we're going to be posting more to our target audiences than they are accustomed to. How do we know if we're posting too much? If maybe we're bombarding that target audience? Well, this is a great way to understand that, because as you're posting more, this is going to allow you to listen to every time your brand is mentioned across these social feeds. I can see the reactions, how many likes, how many shares, how many retweets, comments that people have made about those particular posts. So it's a really helpful way to understand how are people reacting to the type of content that I'm publishing. I also can begin to think about looking at how are my competitors responding in a social platform as well. So I can establish competitor channels so that I can see what they're posting, what seems to be hot, what seems to be resonating, what's their approach, how might I change, modify, or adapt to some of those capabilities as well. I also can, my main point here is I can use streams and social listening to look inside my organization, into brand mentions, into relevant hashtags, Twitter mentions, or I can look outside to get a better understanding of what my competitors are publishing and what type of reactions they're receiving. Now, a very close relation to social listening is our ability to go in and also have an overall inbox that I can review any posts that I have been assigned to. So in our inbox here, I can see everything, any comments that have been made where I was the owner of that post. This is one filter that I've established. So these are assigned to me. So maybe if someone was, maybe someone had made an inquiry about buying a product or service of ours, and I was the person that posted that, I could very quickly go in and select this post and then assign this to someone else within my organization. Maybe this is even a support request. I have customers that do that they interacted with us via social media to report a particular social case that needed to be worked. I also could assign it to sales. I could assign it to marketing. If someone was reacting very positively to something we were doing, and make it easy for me to send that to the appropriate parties. I also could have this set up so that I could see everything that was assigned to anyone. And so this would allow me to go in and define criteria so that I can assign, see who this is assigned to. I want to see it if this is marked as open. You can see that we can track direct messages, comments, mentions, and replies. So all of those are going to be relevant to the type of correspondence that we might be looking for there. And the main value proposition within my inbox is being able to keep track of when my target audience reaches out and wants to communicate with me. How easy is it for me to see those communications without having to go and log into the native social platforms themselves? So if I wanted to reply here or retweet, I can do this right within our environment and not need to go and engage in Twitter directly in order to do that. So I hope that gives you a flavor for our abilities around publishing, around listening, and then around our customer inbox to better understand how individuals are reacting to the posts that we have out there. We definitely took some time up front to talk about our analytics and our dashboards, as well as covering our advocacy component within publishing itself. So if I go back to my original slide there, you can see we definitely touched on social publishing, social demand generation, social listening, advocacy, and social customer care. So there are certainly other slides that I could show you guys. I wanted to keep the vast majority of our time in the product if possible. I don't know if we want to open for any questions or comments, but that is the main set of content that I wanted to share with you guys.